Any available? Catherine looks lonely, but someone is joining her. There you go. Welcome. It's great to see everyone. So welcome to the 15th Ocean Connector event. We've been doing them now for 15 months, as it turns out. Seems like just yesterday. This is probably the most fancied up one we've done. We normally do them in the tea room on Josh's campus, on the engineering campus. So this one is definitely an upgrade, and thanks for joining us. I want to say a few words at the beginning, and then I'm going to turn over to Martha Crago to introduce our guest speaker. First of all, I want to ask Katie to just stand up for a moment. So Katie McCrory is the lady at our office that runs logistics and communications and all that good stuff, as well as the Ocean Connector events, and she's done a spectacular job on pulling this together. So thank you very much, Katie. Also with me are two of my other colleagues from IORE, David Clausen and Sherry Scully, who are, Sherry's eating, so I want, just at the table. So please, if you don't know them, take a chance before you leave today to introduce yourselves to them as well. I want to ask for your support in my thanking, first of all, Dalhousie University, who is co-sponsoring this event with us today. Dalhousie does a multitude of things for IORE and for the industry every day, including hosting our crazy activities every day of the week. So we really do appreciate Dalhousie's support in this important venture. Secondly, we have a new partner for this particular event, and it's one we hope to work with again, and that's the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, NSERC. NSERC has a program that specifically supports partnership activities like workshops, as we're having today, and the whole purpose of those events is to bring together academics and industry and government in a collaborative way with the intention of doing more economically oriented research. And so I'd invite you to take a look at NSERCpartnerships.ca, their webpage, and there's a multitude of programs available under the NSERC program that are very, very relevant to industry. I've had the pleasure of using a number of their programs myself, and they range from no money down engaged grants all the way through something called the CRD, and ultimately the pinnacle of that is an industrial research chair, which I had the pleasure of working with Dalhousie on one when I was running the Ultra facility in Dartmouth. And they are amazing programs. They truly do drive business and are an amazing asset for we Canadians on the business side. So take a look at that webpage if you haven't already, and thank you to NSERC for their support. I'd like to introduce Dr. Martha Crago. Martha is the Vice President of Research at Dalhousie University and also the chairman of my board of IORE, and I work closely with Martha on a regular basis. She brings a huge amount of insight and personal energy to the ocean agenda. I'm absolutely thrilled that she considers oceans her agenda. I'm glad she's on our team. And I'd like to get Martha to come forward and introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Orna Berry. Martha.
Good morning, and thank you, Jim. And it's delightful to see all of you here today, and it's even a bigger delight for me to introduce somebody to you who is, in my life, what I call a memorable figure. And I won't torture you with the story of how I described her to my son once as a memorable figure. And that was at a point in time when I had met her 7 years previously and hadn't met her personally, but seen her speak at an event in Israel. And what I will tell you about that is when she walked into a room that was mostly men, they fell back. And I thought to myself, this is quite a person. So later I had the chance to connect with her through a woman named Rivka Karmi, who's the president of Ben-Gurion University and received an honorary doctorate from Dalhousie a couple of years ago at the installation of our new president. So what is very special about Dr. Berry is that having done a PhD that led to a lot of information to local area networks at the University of Southern California, she went back to Israel and founded a company called Ornet. And I'm going to give you a very abbreviated version of what she's famous for because she's done so many things that it's hard to recount them all. But Ornet was one of the first companies that was sold to a multinational, to Siemens, and was really at the inception of the startup nation. So she came with that experience and has taken it further and further, being responsible for venture capital funds in Israel, also was the first, last, and hopefully not only woman chief scientist for Israel and was responsible for administration in their Ministry of Industry. And when she was that chief scientist, she did some very remarkable things. First of all, there was more funding for R&D than had ever existed before that. And second of all, Israel made a decision which was quite remarkable, and I think many countries around the world have looked at this decision with absolute awe, which was they took a large sum of money, and instead of investing it in the Israeli Science Foundation, they invested that money in the European equivalent and the European Union equivalent, and sort of bought their way into that European Union Research Council. And in doing so, they multiplied the amount of money because so clever are the scientists in Israel that they were extremely successful in getting awards from the European Union. So it was a remarkable investment that leveraged enormous amounts of money that came back to Israelis. And in fact, in my own world of research, which has nothing to do with oceans, but rather how children learn language, Israelis often led the European Union teams of researchers. So this was a remarkable idea on her part and a remarkable move by her country. She's continued on now to become the vice president of EMC, and in that role, she's also been an instrumental figure in establishing a science tech park, an advanced technologies park in Be'er Sheba. And I'm just going to say a few words about Be'er Sheba. I went there first in 1962. I passed through in a bus, and it was a very sleepy little town right on the edge of the Negev, in what Israel refers to as the periphery. And now it is a booming city and just recently ranked one of the 7 cities in the world most likely to be a city of tomorrow, with enormous emerging potential and opportunity. And a large piece of that resides around this incredible cluster of a tech park, a university, and now the Israeli Defense Forces. So I think you're going to see when she speaks to you today the incredible resemblance to what we have here in Halifax. Their tech park is really is really focused on ICT, and we're looking at the possibility and the potential for a tech park that is in the former Coast Guard site that would be focused on ocean science and technology, which doesn't not include ICT, far from it, but would be more focused on the particular kinds of technologies that you represent today. So I'm not going to say any more because I think the story she's going to tell is going to unfold this for you in a way that you'll find very interesting. So it's with great honor and pleasure that I introduce to you a woman who is not only an incredibly accomplished person, but a very proud mother and a very fine citizen of her country and, frankly, of the world.
Thank you very much, Jim and Martha, for the introduction and also for the opportunity. I'm going to take everybody here through a presentation that we made yesterday, but I'm going to look at this presentation from a slightly different angle because we had a great program yesterday where we also visited the site and did a mental exercise led by Martha of imagining what can come out of it. So while I'll go through the same presentation that I made yesterday, I will actually take you, according to my opinion and experience, into how to make the site really a magnet for growth and partnerships. And I want to say something before I start. Israel, as you know, is a very isolated country. And until natural gas was found in the sea, and this is another topic for the region because it's about exploration in modern times that are far deeper and based on lots of geological information. geophysical information. And information I mentioned needs to be taken by many as information technology. Because even when we talk about oceans and when we talk about explorations, we're talking today about modern vehicles that are actually taking what would previously be information that is sort of looked at, structuring it and making decisions upon it. So from my perspective, when we're talking about building marine tech or anything that relates to seas, and I'm an absolute ignorant about the topic, but I'm very adamant about the processes that make disciplines grow. So what are the goals of our discussion today? My goal is to tell you a bit about infrastructure and a lot about partnership. And the one thing that I learned when I became chief scientist, because my education was in computer science, and I had no education in economics. I do have I'm very fortunate to have a brother who is a professor of economics and a leading figure in his field to rub on me, but definitely not to be part of my professional life, because this would be always considered a conflict of interest. But thinking about what makes success is not a crime, and that was a Saturday morning discussion that we led for the 4 years that I held the position in the government. And basically the theme is about education, the theme is about competences and goals, and the theme is about a business partnership to actually make something that is noticeable beyond the achievements, the academic achievements themselves. So what do I mean by goals? When I'm talking about goals, I would like to come back here, maybe in a couple years, and see that the initial projects that were set at the innovation site are going to become meaningful at what they wanted to be meaningful. If they want to be meaningful in economical terms, lots of competitive edge, lots of partnerships that are being created, volume of sales if it applies, something that is going to be meaningful business-wise. If it's about exploration that requires improvement of methodologies to work at sea, be it that, but be it excellent. We want excellence, and excellence needs to be driven by different forces. And I started by mentioning that I came into office, I had no clue in economics, means I had some because I ran a company before, but not at the level of what makes a country, or in your case, a province, tick, and what makes a country or a province be known for something that you really want to promote. And I can say that Israel has become a site that people know that startups, you look at startups in Silicon Valley and in Israel. It's a major achievement for 8.5 million people in 23,000 square kilometers, 1/900 of the Middle East and 1/50 in population size. So I want to come back here and hear the same. So it took 30 years to get to the point, but in Israel. And I don't expect that in 2 years we'll be conquering the world, but conquering the world in a discipline is definitely our mission here. And again, back to my initial days at the Office of the Chief Scientist, partnering with people of expertise in different positions is crucial. And also, for the success of the process, it is about looking at everybody who comes in as a customer of the success of the process. So whoever runs the process needs, and that we'll get to that at the end of the presentation, needs to make it simple for the partners to participate, and needs to rely on expertise in each one of the disciplines in order to actually make a decision that is leading us to tremendous success. So basically, Be'er Sheba. So Martha described Be'er Sheba. She described Be'er Sheba at 62, at 2000, and at 2015, 14. And I will tell you that I landed, means I've been to Be'er Sheba during my high school days, but I landed in Be'er Sheba for my military service in 1967, end of 1967. When I landed in the base that is then and now the Air Force base that hosts the flying school, there were camels within the perimeter of the base. No place for camels today. The base is full. And by the way, the real estate developers don't like the fact that we show pictures of a heap with camels in the area where today our building stands, because they try to make it, to rush it up and show that there is a tech park. Yes, there is a tech park, but the issue is that when you build something new and there are no foundation and previous experience in that thing, you need to be extra careful to make something that you know you want to achieve. You still don't know how you will achieve it, but you know what you want to achieve. And you want somebody to run it knowing what they want to achieve. And that is the key issue about what you want to have here. It's a very aggressive but legitimate goal to be a winner. And you want to be a winner, and you want to treat your partners as your customers until you are at the point that you are sufficiently important in the field to treat people and line them up and select. So this is it. Now, I want people not to confuse the components. I'm not running the university. I'm conducting in the university research that I think will create a competitive edge for my company globally, not even in Israel, globally. I don't run the park. I'm not a real estate person. But I did take the risk in the name of EMC to put first commitment to lease a whole floor in a new building to come, because the builders were unable to raise funding from the banks just on the base that the university will put half a floor in the building. They did not want, the banks wanted to see a business saying yay. And when the business said yay, very quickly after, funding was provided and the first building was built. And this is an interesting point to take with you, that a strong partner is one of the prerequisites to indicate that what you're providing is actually of interest business-wise. If you have affiliation with the business, if you have aspirations to succeed in the business. Again, if it would have been a university building or a defense building, it's a different story. But this was an indication to the banks that there is a potential. And today, we were the first ones to come in. Today, there are 18 companies in the site. The national CERT, this is a critical events response team, but it's an IT infrastructure for management of national resources, is going to be built in the second building that has recently been opened. So the place from the time that we opened our temporary offices in May of 2011 until today the city looks totally different. The belief of the people in what stands there for them is totally different, and the quality of living together with potential people with high potential to settle there is quite different. We committed when we came in not to steal from any industry in the south, all the way up to Kiryat Gat, which is really above the Negev. We decided not to steal employees. We are not headhunting. We decided to invest in employees that are graduating from the university and educating them to bring them up to speed, because we wanted to have a coalition of companies with virtues that there is, regardless of competition, some common ground, and we built it. So this was our contribution, because we felt that to create critical mass, you need to do something different at the beginning. 10 years from now, probably it will behave like it is in any jungle, like Silicon Valley or Tel Aviv. But right now, everybody there has a mission of a pioneering nature. I'm talking about national level, but for you, you have a province level and a national level. And that is very important, because if the national level, like Industry Canada, is not yet prepared with very clear tools to actually support what you're building, they can be friends with you, they can take the time to develop their tools, but in the meantime, it's the province's responsibility to give the umbrella that is covering what is required around. And then, of course, the interests will be of the region, which is for you the province and the city, and the university is a tremendous resource, because it's not only that the university educates quality people, it's also that the university can help you map people with the right skills when you want to help companies or any kind of research institutions coming and taking projects in the site. And I'm saying taking projects, and I'm hinting at the fact that this doesn't need to be similar to the Advanced Technology Park, because the Advanced Technology Park is larger and can host a full life cycle of companies even in full globally. Means it can host thousands of employees. So we're talking about a place that can host hundreds of employees, and we're talking about a place that definitely can provide the jumpstart of a discipline to evolve. And I'm saying that because I'm looking back at the same mechanism called the Binational Industrial Research and Development Foundation, where we actually took small companies that develop technology, enabled them to do joint ventures and joint projects with larger companies that had the marketing and sales, and recognized the capacity, the expertise in the small companies, and helped it scale out, which is one type of projects that we want to consider for the site. So the university helping to distill the people, not only by their grades, but also by their personalities. And when we talk about advanced degrees, normally the professors are aware of the personalities of their students. And then we need to build it. No, we shouldn't miss any step, but we shouldn't anticipate all the steps in advance, because when we come to build something new, what we want is to achieve the goal, not to focus on the process. The process has to be adapted in order to create success and to meet the goal. And consequently, yes, we build it from the bottom. Yes, we take people in real estate and people in academia and people in industry and big players who come to scale. But we build it and we try it. We build first 3 projects and we see what works and what doesn't work before we build the next 7. And that process requires leadership, that the stakeholders accept that leadership, and that leadership is all the time focused on reaching the goal, but with feet on the ground, means being real, realistic. So in the case of Israel, there are several ecosystem issues that are important and I think are important here too. During the Passover vacation, which just was a couple weeks ago, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, with his wife and 2 kids, visited the park without saying it in advance, just to see what is evolving. He wanted to show his wife what he's talking about when he's talking about Be'er Sheba. And this was for me, a signal that regardless of the election and regardless of everything, he sees this as a goal. If he sees it as a goal, the government will align with it. And that's important for us. The other thing is that the government will align with a very important project that is equivalent to the coming Navy projects, and that's the move of the technology units of the Ministry of Defense and the Israel Defense Forces to the south. Lots of economic reasons to do that. The arbitrage of the cost of land in the center and the cost of land in the south can provide the funding for the modernization of the IT and the build-up of the IT to meet requirements in the next 20 years. So this is one. The other thing is that the freeing land that belongs to the state in the center can allow building affordable housing, which is a main issue in people's life in Israel. People have difficulty procuring housing. So this is how we look at it, and this is actually the inauguration of the park, where Netanyahu announced at that point that he wants the cyber center of Israel to be in Be'er Sheba, and believe it or not, almost everybody that has to do with cyber is there. There is a unique incubator in cyber, and we're talking here about another discipline. A unique incubator in cyber exists for a year and a half and already had an exit, a successful exit. There are companies, I mentioned that we have today 18 companies in the park. Each building has at least one anchor larger company that intends to put a large population of employees in the park. So here is something about the design. And this is, again, I'm participating in the design, but I'm not the expert to build the park. But I'm looking in retrospect of what the expertise that was brought to the park did create. So the expertise, this is not just a real estate project. The project was well designed together with the city and the university to actually create a center of gravity. Funny enough, it's around the train station if we talk physically, but truly around the university. And everything is built in order to come into the university. And the components, aside from the real estate in the advanced technology park, include the university itself, include what I said is the physical center of gravity, the train station that allows people to come from distances and have access to all those services if you wish. The infrastructure of the advanced technology park, because as an entrepreneur in the past, finding suitable real estate to start your business is an issue. And if you have this service in a place, it's amazing. It makes your life focus on what you need to achieve, not on the infrastructure. you need for the infrastructure to pay, but you need to focus on what you want to achieve. The other side is the partners. You know, real estate by itself can be as beautiful as possible, but useless. It is useful if the industries say it is useful. So the work that was done by the entrepreneur who designed the park and coordinated it with the Ministry of Defense and with the university and with the city was really done in a way that the park has interconnected buildings, not interconnected physically because we don't have this weather problem in the south, but you have trails and it's really flowing. Means you see that there is a circle that buildings are coming into the circle, so you have a very accessible path between buildings, and then of course the fact that the biggest market, the biggest customer in the state for IT, it is the Ministry of Defense, is building a neighboring campus for the command control, computer communication, cyber and intelligence. So that's a very close touch, and Israel is a close touch. They may not be the best in processes, but they're close touch. They need to see the customer. They understand immediately from talking to the customer what they can bring to the table, and this culture is important. And then the Soroka Medical Center, which is the only medical center in Israel that is actually a university medical center. So all of it is important. And if I would relate, some of the issues related to cyber and related to medicine, then the discipline in computer science that is relevant, computer science, mathematics, statistics, is big data, data science. And this is repeating itself. So from our perspective, we built, aside from regular course of business of EMC, we built, which is about high availability, about EMC has basically has been known for storage, but in the last years, it has developed virtualization, big data, security, and converged infrastructure, which we have it as a classical activity, but we have two centers that are the centers of expertise globally that are not resulted in acquisitions, that are resulted from local expertise in big data and in cybersecurity. So we definitely made ourselves in the site from organic expertise, not only from external acquisitions that we scaled out. And this was important culturally in Israel, and taken well from experiences of companies like Intel and IBM. And by the way, IBM, after we went there, IBM decided to come as well based on our decision, and we welcomed them, and we actually, regardless of otherwise competing efforts, we have quite a bit of collaboration in go-to-market, and that went from Be'er Sheba up to the corporate. If I summarize what allowed to kickstart the effort, it's the city, it's the university, it's the designers of the park and the builders of the park, and it's our commitment to lease the first floor. Okay? That gave the jump start. And I'm saying that it gave the jump start because for about 17 years, there was the issue of the Advanced Technology Park in Be'er Sheba was on the table. 4 prime ministers put a cornerstone in the park, but nothing happened because this is the real combination. the guidance of the government is extremely important, but the government is an enabler and a facilitator, a direction giver. They are not the execution arm. So, University of Ben-Gurion has evolved from University of the Ben-Gurion University of the Negev evolved around several disciplines. It started from humanities and engineering as subsidiaries of the Hebrew University and the Technion, and eventually became an independent university. And today, it's the number one research university for undergraduate students. And in certain disciplines, it is also preferred for higher degrees. So, for example, getting into medical school in Be'er Sheba is harder than getting into medical school in the Technion or in the Hebrew University. And there are a lot of compliments that I can give for the impact of this hospital on the population in the Negev in general. And another issue that the university took upon itself is the interdisciplinary activities. So you can find, like in any academic institutions, separations, irrational separation, because you needed to nominate two very senior professors to the roles. But on the other hand, you find a much more active commercialization office that is committed to the industry in the Negev and to the collaboration between departments and the industries. So this is a very complimenting process, because we came to Be'er Sheba in May of 2011 and committed by July to the rental of the space or leasing of the space, and then by the end of 2011, the markup of this funnel, you can see how nicely it's funnels toward the train station and toward the university that is across the street and the medical center. And then in 2012, the building started, and we were the first one to occupy the first building, the first floor, in July of 2013. So 2014, we already inaugurated the second building. And the sense is that the more people come into the site, the stronger, the higher likelihood the site has viability. So those are the two buildings, and just again to show, you see the train station, you see the Soroka Medical Center, the Ben-Gurion University, to be built, the hotel and conference center, that the real estate permit has just been received. The proximity of the neighborhood in Be'er Sheba called Ramot, a lot of people just walk. It is very important to observe that today, in today's life, the effect of connecting cities and urban life with industrial parks, especially knowledge-based industrial parks, is something that is evolving. It's evolving in Ireland as well, and as well as in other places. And then the buildings, San Francisco also is taking today a lot of tech industries from the valley. People prefer to operate in the city. So and the two buildings that are built, and then the campus that is starting to be built. The area is being marked. So what was missing? There were a couple of things that were missing in the structures. There were all the components that I mentioned, but some glue logic was missing. One glue logic was that after companies graduated from the incubators, they couldn't really lease a place because there were too small relative to what the real estate developers wanted. So the entrepreneur who designed with experts from KUD, the park, actually took upon himself to lease a certain area and to create a place for continuing industries and to create also sort of an incubator for dual-use technologies, defense and commercial. Then came another idea, and that was after the announcement of the Prime Minister that he wants to create the cyber center in Israel in the south. We decided to help the Israel National Cyber Bureau that belongs in the Prime Minister office and the Prime Minister office itself and everybody else to create actually a place where people can come and explore what can be done in Be'er Sheba. And to have some common, again, we're otherwise competing companies, but we are cooperating in information, in a kind of people that we want to see out of the university, a variety of topics that are generic, that if you can accelerate the build-up by creating them. So those two components were components that were added to the composition of the partnership between the university, the city, the real estate, and the industries to have some additional layer of collaboration, and it works really well because the number of delegations that come to explore whether it's European companies or Japanese companies or Chinese or American has gone more than tenfold up since we have this cyber tech infrastructure. The whole story about knowledge economy is about a suitable and quality workforce, about businesses' demand, and about challenging technologies. And I think all of those apply here. This is definitely what should be in the park here. And then come several elements that we observed, and I cannot reiterate enough the issue of the partnership, but I want to stress it even more specifically here. It is extremely important that processes that of being selected, admitted, and placed are simple as possible. And I think we have examples that we can share, and I'm very happy to share as part of our good relationship processes that made it work. But we're not the only one. I mean, Israel is definitely unique that it took it all the way up to a priority in the government because of its special position and the adverse situation in the Middle East. And this is the half-full glass that we have, taking knowledge and excelling our economy. But I think that there are plenty activities that were created by companies and regions in the world that can be adopted and added up. I think that when we focus on knowledge, probably surprisingly, Israel has the office of the chief scientist, and Finland has TECIS. So the Finns are right now in a more stable geopolitical situation, so people hear less about them, but it's an amazing country, an amazing system as well, and we compare notes regularly because it's size and expertise that are of relevance. But I'm sure that you can find you can actually create a public policy course that is suitable for Nova Scotia at the university, from gathering the different types of management. But at the end of the day, those systems, all of them, are adaptive. When Nokia dissolved in Finland, the Finnish government moved from supporting Nokia to supporting startups in techies. So, you know, you do what you need to do, and it's very important that the person who runs the program is versatile and is open-minded to what will work well, and the partnership is accepting the discipline. So the issue about common view, I said it needs to be a goal. You need to decide which goal you're taking upon yourself. Is it, and you can take, you know, 2 goals, 3 goals, but they need to be pretty much under the same umbrella. Because in a small facility, you don't want to try to get a Nobel laureate at the university at the same time to go business. If you want to go business, call it business, and then rank the priorities and set the goals accordingly. The multinational companies, this is an important reference point in 2 ways. One, it is a support of scaling. When you have a small company successfully partnering with a multinational company, if the multinational company, the area that the small company is bringing in is a goal of that company, then the scale can be amazing. I was the chair of a company called PrimeSense. That was the technology behind Kinect. We found ourselves, eventually Microsoft announced that we were the technology behind Kinect. And we saw Microsoft grow its market share from 10% to 20% in the gaming arena within about a year. And we saw ourselves in the Guinness Book of Records for the fastest growing consumer electronic of its class, consumer electronic product of its class. And there was no way that the company from the Tel Aviv area will get to those results unless it got into this partnership. And always when you're small and smart and somebody is big and slow, you feel that you're in a disadvantage, but life is not fair. What we measure is the result. And eventually, Apple acquired the company, and there were others who wanted to acquire the company on the way, and the company did not have the justice by itself to create another, let's call it a sensor kind of multiple lines of products. It was to be acquired. So other times, you know, companies like Checkpoint, who is present in Halifax, grew and remained as independent companies because the market was right and the products were right for sustaining an independent company. But everything that is about foreign direct investments, that is encouraging VCs to come because there are transactions happening in the area, is related to multinationals and small companies. So it's not the venture capital that will come and make the company being acquired. It might give the companies oxygen to grow, but at the end of the day, companies need to scale either independently or through mergers and acquisitions or joint ventures. And this is the importance of the multinationals. It gives, if the multinationals do business locally, it gives a great legitimation and it raises the attention to the region in the specific areas of interest. So the issue about government support, I was really fortunate to run the whole research and development administration for the business sector in the government of Israel. And it put people, knowledge, growth, opportunity on the map of Israel and for Israel in the global scene. And and it's really important. This relationship is really important. If the government sees this as a priority and says every time, you know, I made sure that during my term, every time the Prime Minister spoke, he spoke about science and he spoke about technology. Because without science, there is no technology. And the technology is what ticks the tech industries. And every talk that he made during my 4 years term included those two statements, even, you know, as just statements in a bunch of political issues that were not related. And it's important that you're on the map and that people view this activity as a national win for them and of a national importance for them. And there are plenty of reasons. It's beginning from nutrition and it ends in defense. But this has to be, you know, there is a provincial level that you get into more details, and the Prime Minister of Canada needs to say, this is one of our priorities, regardless, because in Calgary, Alberta, you cannot talk about marine. You can talk about oil and gas. You can do a lot of things that are different. But this is unique. There are two oceans around Canada, and at least 50% of the ocean attention should be placed here. Again, I will recite something that I'm saying, and I'm saying it with determination. Single point of contact, well-coordinated, qualified management for the process and for the site is crucial. If you start getting from if you have to go to 4 offices, one is not giving you an answer, another one is giving you half an answer, and 2 give you a definite answer, you go elsewhere. You just cannot afford the risk because it doesn't add up. So this is where we visited yesterday, and it has a great potential, the place. And I think that with the right kind of management, with the right attitude and contribution of the stakeholders, in 2 years when I visit you, you have something new going in the city. And the Prime Minister doesn't forget to mention Halifax in every speech that he gives. And don't laugh at me. I'm not here to make jokes. I came here to help you do something that I'm only bringing my experience. You need to aspire to success, and that success needs to be documented and recognized. And that will make a multiplier for the level of success. So this is what I took you through. I took you through the Be'er Sheba and the cyber opportunity. By the way, this presentation is available and everybody can get the presentation. There is no need to take pictures. I didn't, even though I put copyright on the bottom, but it's not, you know, the only thing is that when you use it, you just reference it. It's not forbidden to use it. So the location, Israel, but Israel periphery, the partnership, and here you have the marine. The location is Canada and the province of Nova Scotia. The partnerships, and again, what I said about the clear management of the program and process that you want to achieve, and the stakeholders that have each one their expertise, university, real estate, government, and of course the users, the customers who come to run their projects on site. So as you see, my recommendation is to pick a strong, visionary, but execution capable leader. develop the right incentive plan to jumpstart this activity, work with multinationals who are present here as potential customers or partners for this activity, and obtain the commitment from the provincial government, but also from the federal government. But I say also, because it's key now to, if you want to start tomorrow, to have the provincial government behind you. The federal government is not ready yet, as we saw yesterday, from focusing on legitimizing such build-up of such a project and such a partnership in a particular region, and find the commonalities between the stakeholders on which they agree as a base, but they do not place any impediments on running forward and making it happen. So I give credit to Uzi Zwebner, and I connected Uzi with Martha and Colin yesterday. He was the designer of the park, with the advanced technology park as it is operated today, and with the facilities that are creating the common ecosystem. Ben-Gurion University. BG Negev is the commercialization company of the university, and Cyberspark, which is the common infrastructure that we built between the university, the businesses, and the park to actually make it accessible to external customers, partners, investors who want to come from the outside and to focus on cyber in Be'er Sheba. Thank you. If you want to take questions.
I was just going to say, if there's any questions, we have a few moments, and I'm sure Orna would be happy to answer. If no one has one, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the dichotomies is that in your situation, you had the advantage of having a greenfield site where all the components were in physical proximity to each other, centered on the train station, as it turns out. One of our challenges seems to me to be that there's pre-existing infrastructure in this city, spread frankly all over the city. We really are interested in using the advantage of the waterfront as the key here because it's an ocean focus, and yet we have to bring together disparate partners that are on several miles apart from each other, across a harbor in some cases. Can you comment on the challenges around that?
Absolutely. So the same company, Gaviam, took the park in Haifa, which was an existing park, which actually was the first technology park, called Matam, and they did an ecosystem design on that park, including the existing components that were there before. The park today, I used to work there many years ago when I worked in Haifa. The park today looks totally different and is much better designed in terms of entrance, parking places, services on site, services outside, connectivity into the city. It's much more like what you have to face in this case. And again, what they did was that they looked at the parameters of the existing industries, the parameters of the modern tech ecosystem, accessibility and services included, and revised the old plans and redid it. So part of my operation is now, in May, is getting into that park because we want also to tap on talent in the north. And we were extremely happy with the facilities and the services that were built. We're going to be to share the building with Microsoft, and I think that both companies have their privacy and have also the ability to look at each other, because aside from some overlaps, we have a lot of complementarity, and I think that it will have a business effect as well. So I know that you're coming from a different position. I know that it's also a place that, when made efficient, it's few hundreds and not few thousands, but that's okay. This is why a design stage is required, and this is why I recommended to discuss it with the entrepreneur of the park, because he used the expertise of a Japanese-American company building something that had the university as a component in it.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to give a preface here, so I'll turn around for a minute and then ask the question. I mean, one of the things that struck me is we actually do have some federal mechanisms for this. We do have offset credits, and we do know that certain companies, which are big multinationals, will be having to use some of their offset credits. So we actually have a mechanism, and we have people from Industry Canada and from Defence here yesterday. And one of the things that I took home was a remarkable bar graph that showed where investment in research is per capita, and the federal lab investment in research, as those of us who are near to it know, has actually tanked. And business has gone up, and universities have gone up. So there's no question that we've got to make up for, and Defense is seeing this. Defense is saying we're no longer making our own products. Those products need to be made by industry in collaboration with university. So it's a very rich environment for us, actually, if we can get the puzzle pieces put together here. But part of it relies, to me, I mean, the biggest message I've gotten out of yesterday and today is, this is got to be a collaborative effort. And I will tell you that sitting on the One Nova Scotia Coalition, all we ever say is, this has got to be collaborative. We've got to get walls down, we've got to have a common goal. And that relies, and I'm not in your position, but because I'm not a small, medium enterprise trying to get in bed with a large multinational. But I can see the potential of it, and what I heard through this story, and finally the penny has really sunk with me, if you don't get the big person in there, you don't get the investment in the real estate that allows you to get everybody else in there. So I've seen a park also in Brazil, made around a university, built on an old Air Force, abandoned Air Force site. And the same thing, they've got Hewlett-Packard, they've got IBM, they've got Cisco, and then they've got a whole pile of smaller local companies, all working in the same park. So I'm curious, from the point of view of those of you who are in these smaller enterprises, how do you imagine, or what are your fears about having to work in a space that has a larger multinational company as a part of it? Because to achieve the overall goal, we probably have to get all kinds of things lined up with each other. And these large multinationals in the defense industry allow us the offset credits. And I will say also that in the original value proposition for the Irving contract, there was something called the Marine Commercialization Center. And frankly, what we're talking about on the old Coast Guard site is very similar to that concept. So I think that we've got to figure out in our heads, how do we do this in a way that makes everybody feel comfortable, and yet at the same time makes it happen. So maybe my question is how nervous were the small companies of Be'er Sheba, and how much has this grown those small companies at the same time as it's attracted the bigger players like Elbit, EMC, Cisco?
So the small companies normally are established by engineers, and they don't know what stands in front of them, and they cannot appreciate how much easier it is for them in such an environment versus another environment. But the proof is in the business results, and you can see that in the JVP incubator, the success rate and the multiplier on the investment is very high. So, and they were, the incubator, the venture capital firm behind it, was extremely nervous when they came on board. And they were extremely collaborative because they were extremely nervous. And it ended up being something very useful. We were working with two of their companies, and we include them in some of our development and solutions. And I think there is an element of locality and there is an element of globalization. And there is nothing in between. So I think that locality is strong. It supports the young companies. And at the end of the day, we see the level of traffic that is just unbelievable.
Other questions? Did you have any strategy for those companies that you invited? Was it a specific...
No, I did not invite the companies. I'm a business. I help the Advanced Technology Park and its management in displaying to visitors, can be competitors and otherwise. I hosted companies like HP. I hosted IBM, definitely is a competitor in many areas, and I hosted them, and eventually we ended up doing a project together, a major project together. So the issue is that I do not have a strategy. I am just a good citizen, and when the park is asking me to meet heads of companies and to show them what we have done, I do. But that's not my strategy. My strategy is to have EMC successful, and in terms of measurements of success in EMC, not only that Israel is on the average very successful, but the Be'er Sheba site is twice as successful as the center of the country. So that's it. Yes, please.
I'm just picking on something you said yesterday, which you didn't mention here today, but one of the challenges quite often for small companies coming into a cluster like that is retaining their employees. And I think you did say there was some sense of no poaching of employees, and that wasn't as a rule or as a structure there.
So when we came to the city, before I formed, and this is actually a good point, before I formed the management team of Be'er Sheba, I came into the city and I wanted to find a placement agency. So we called on a placement agency and we told them we need 5 engineers, and those are the profiles. And sure enough, that placement agency called a neighboring industrial park into a particular company that I happened to be a private investor in that company. And sure enough, the CEO called me and said, hey, this is what is happening. I called the placement agency and I said, thank you very much. This is not what I came to do here. We don't need your services anymore. And I hired a woman who was a fairly senior HR, and I told her, your charter is to work with the university. And for the first meetings, I went with her because the university did not map people for employment in Be'er Sheba. They mapped people, for advanced degrees, for research, for collaboration. So, and similarly, I went to the Deutsche Telekom labs because the first hirees were for security. Then I told them, I'm not taking any of your employees, but when they are structured with 15 full-time employees and the rest are research students, that when they graduate with a degree, they are free. So I said, when you have graduates, tell us, because we want to interview them, and if they want to stay in Be'er Sheba, we would like to give them an opportunity. we ran a questionnaire at the university of how many of the people want to stay in Be'er Sheva, how many are floating votes, and how many do not want to stay in Be'er Sheva. The answers that we got was 40% for staying, 20% floating, and 40% for the definite leaving of Be'er Sheva. So we knew that we have a significant population because the university is graduating enough students for us to work with. There is another college in Be'er Sheva that is not as academic as the university, but has very good applied engineering, and we did too. Then we talked to the municipality and to people in the community who know who travels on a daily basis to either Jerusalem or Tel Aviv and would consider. And we did an all-hands meeting at the university. I have pictures from that. The room was overflowing. We got a hall for 150 people, and there were 250 people in the room. It was really dangerous. People were standing around. And we got a lot from it. And we built something that we saw that it can be sustainable, and we put it as a virtue for others to adopt or not to adopt, but people adopted it. So at the end of the day, when you build something that you want it to be successful for you and successful environmentally, because if it's not successful environmentally, there is no critical mass. You want to build a critical mass. That's a prerequisite for long-term sustainability, I believe. So that was the game, and it worked. As Martha says, I scare people. She thinks that it's a good impression. I think I scare people. And I think that when I presented it to other people, initially they thought, well, they need to look into that just because I asked, but eventually they found out that they can live with it and can play, and I have no way of forcing them because that's not a criteria to be admitted into the park. That's a body that we built for the people who locally manage the companies to meet regularly and to share information and to work with the university to be a better source, means organizationally, of the quality students that are graduating. Yes, please.
Just a quick question. You mentioned that the Ministry of Defense, or cyber and intelligence unit is going to become part of your park. How do you foresee those, so everybody in the park working with those people and vice versa? I can see huge benefit for them. Hopefully there's benefit for you as well. How do you see that working?
You have at Equilibrium about 30,000 people from technology units. The C5I started already to fund advanced degrees, provided that the students are going to Ben-Gurion University in order to get them accustomed to visiting Be'er Sheva at this point. Because the Ministry of Defense is a very important component in employment in Israel. Because unlike the National Security Agency, most of the people go for a short period service, meaning 3 years, 4 years, and are coming out of the service with tremendous experience. And whether they go to the university, some of them decide to take a degree in the Open University during the service. Some of them take a degree before they go into the service. Those people are very high-quality technologists. It's not to say that we only hire technologists to come from technology units, but it's saying that all the people who come via the train station and go to the camp pass through the industrial park. It means that professional services, customer support, in addition to research and development, which is already a forte in the park, are going to be present, which is from the ecosystem of the municipality and the region. is high-paying jobs for larger categories than just research and development. And this is well known in the industry in Israel. The teamwork, the competences, the challenges that people meet. One of the semiconductor companies told me that they're hiring technicians from the Navy. Why technicians from the Navy? Because if you're stuck at sea and you need to fix something, you cannot go to your supervisor and ask them what was the procedure. You fix it. So there are lots of lessons to be learned about lifetime experience of people and what they bring to the table. And we don't always know how to utilize it because we're specialists, mostly, I'm at least specialist in technology. But management, is part of looking at the resources available and sometimes investing a few months of training to actually have very high quality, very loyal employees that have the skill set but need to be adapted. So it's human resources, I put it as number one success factor in terms of expertise, and it's harder to state, but it's very important that people are suitable for the organization and for the mission, and are versatile because the requirements are changing very fast.
Okay. Our tradition is to finish on time, so I'm going to suggest we cut off questions. I have one comment to make myself as we finish. When I had the pleasure of joining the Premier and a number of ministers and deputy ministers, along with, I think, all the presidents of the universities in Nova Scotia during a visit to Waterloo about a year ago. And one of the things that was commented on during the visit, I think to the Perimeter Institute, if I'm not mistaken, was when you grow something like this, do not aspire to be locally excellent or regionally excellent or even nationally excellent. You have to be globally excellent at what you do, and therefore it involves focus. I think the comment was made, don't aspire to win the grade 9 running race. And I would say that by taking counsel and advice from people like you, Orna, we're aspiring to do anything other than win the grade 9 running race. So we really do appreciate your insights, your comments, your experience, and your advice going forward. I don't find you scary. In fact, I find you extremely insightful. So I think anyone with the intellect of the size of you can be intimidating, certainly. But I think we've all had wonderful experience listening to you yesterday and again today. We have a small gift for you, and I want to tell you what it is because it's part of the story. So first, I'll give it to you. You're very welcome. And maybe you could open it. It's a book that I'm the son of a naval officer and very proud of the fact that Halifax and the Canadian Navy are inextricably linked. And this book tells the story of that, the connection between the city of Halifax and the Royal Canadian Navy going back more than 100 years. And I think it's important that the point you've made to us is that the Ministry of Defense, our defense ministry, and in particular our Navy here in Halifax, is a key component as we try and grow this wonderful thing that we're growing. So thank you for making that comment and highlighting the importance of that, and we really do appreciate your insights. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll close at that point. I thank you all for coming this morning. I hope you found it useful and brain-opening. If you did like this event, we do one on a regular basis. I can't say they're all at the same level of insightfulness as this one, so this is definitely raised the bar. But we do have a monthly event. If you're not already on the mailing list and would like to be, let myself or Katie know, and we'll make sure that you get future announcements. So thanks again for coming, and enjoy your day. Thanks.